Hey everyone, it's me, your boy. Welcome to my video on surviving adversity and struggles in life. I'm really glad to announce that there's going to be a Goodreads giveaway for my novel Mr. Snuffles. Goodreads is it's a book website that hosts, it's kind of a community that has reviews and forums for people to talk about books. So if you go down to the link below, you can enter for a chance to win one free copy of Mr. Snuffles on Kindle, of course. Or otherwise, you can just go to Amazon.com right now and check out the novel for yourself. Today I have a very important topic to discuss. Before we start though, I'd like to remind you that I'm not trained as a psychologist or a counselor or anything like that. This is just my amateur opinion. Please do not take this as a substitute if you believe you need mental health counseling or medical intervention. So last time I talked about what I call the life of the mind, and most of that falls into what we would call the rational areas, thoughts. I have this idea, I came up with this thought, 2 plus 2 equals 4, the area of a circle is pi r squared. I think that's right. We think of most thoughts as things we can control. You don't have to do that math problem. If you don't want to, you can stop thinking about it. Most of us do. But sometimes it seems as if we are not in control of our thoughts. Traumatic events have the power to leave us feeling broken and paralyzed. For many of us, that first emotion is heartbreak. We might as well call this the heartbreak video, right? Other sorts of traumatic events might be losing a family member or loved one, losing a job, failing a major goal in your life, or going through a major illness. The first time you deal with this, it's extremely confusing. Along with feelings of sadness, there's often an undercurrent of panic. You don't understand why your mind and body is doing this to you. A lot of times it just gets annoying with how the event sticks with you all the time and you just want to stop thinking about it. These traumatic events can cause depression and anxiety and lead to insomnia, lack of appetite, fatigue, and lack of mental focus. Never fear though. Okay, fear a little bit. But I have a few words of wisdom that hopefully will be useful to you and help speed your recovery the next time you experience one of these events. First, a little bit of a background. Your mind is an incredible machine, able to guide you through the world with all of its moral and social complexities. You know exactly what to do, how to react. In order to do this, though, your mind builds a picture of the world, like a map. This map helps you navigate all sorts of situations. Your friend just told a joke. Was it a funny joke? Do you value your friend enough to laugh anyway? Was it based off of an inside joke that y'all had told each other previously? All these pieces come together to guide your behavior. It's never just a simple case of seeing is believing. The downside to this is that we need to maintain the stability of our worldview, how we see the world. If one piece changes, it could have a ripple effect that leaves us in complete disarray, feeling that we have no idea how the world works. This is why people often have such a hard time changing their minds. They need to protect any belief or fact they hold because it might force them to re-examine other facts. It might force them to re-examine their entire life if they give up on one belief. Now, what happens in a traumatic event is just that. Something happens that contradicts how you think the world works. Not just consciously, but unconsciously. Few people stop to think that their parent could pass away while they are still young. A high schooler does not think that the young man or woman that they have had such amazing new experiences with could abandon them for seemingly no reason. And yet, these sorts of things happen all the time. And when it does happen, your world can crumble. You'll feel pain. You'll possibly feel confusion if this is your first traumatic event. This theory explains why anxiety is so common, because your mind is suddenly unsure about what is a threat or not, so everything becomes a threat. The first thing I have to tell you is that this is part of life. Life is pain. Anyone who tells you anything different is selling something. I do have some good news and some advice though. Your mind has suffered a terrible injury, and in order to regain your health from this injury, you have to readjust your perspective. This isn't just a loss. This is an opportunity to learn about the world and yourself, become a better person, and become a stronger person. The first step, I think, is to acknowledge your pain. Think about the painful event. Bring up all the memories surrounding it. Don't hold down these emotions. It's okay to cry. I'm not much of a crier in my personal life. I only cry during movies when the dog dies, but each to their own. The next step is what I call processing. Your world has moved under your feet. It's gone. You need to create a new one. Processing is understanding and internalizing the event, making it a part of yourself, this new knowledge of the world. Unfortunately, this is not a step that you can do completely consciously. You can't just say, oh, I'll get over it, snap your fingers, and it's gone. It takes time for your mind to accept this. There are some things you can do though. Think about the event. Talk to friends that you care about. Write it down. You're probably going to be thinking about it 24 hours a day anyway. If you're going to have a tiger in your room, you might as well study the tiger. As you go through this processing, you'll come across questions. I thought this person was going to be with me forever, whether that's a friend or a parent or a significant other. Even if you may realize that this was actually what you thought, even if it doesn't seem reasonable. By identifying and studying that question, you can come closer to accepting it. Friends and journaling can be really helpful during this phase because they can keep you from getting trapped inside your own mind. You don't always have to believe your friends. A lot of times they'll just tell you, get over it, it wasn't worth it, it's not that important. Don't always believe them. But sometimes, if they say something is crazy, you might pause to consider it if it's crazy. After you're done with one question, you will probably have another question, another issue that you need to deal with. And you might circle back to the same question over and over again. But over time, you will make this experience a part of you, and it will not hurt you anymore, but will make you stronger. The next thing I'm going to tell you is a bit more of a mature topic, but it's something that you're going to have to accept eventually. If you don't feel like you're ready for that, if you feel like this previous piece of advice is what you need to get through, then I take this advice and I wish you a happy, healthy day. We've discussed how trauma occurs when our view of the world is upended. All of this really boils down to one thing. When we are truly hurt, it's almost always because we did not account for the existence of evil in the world. Now, I don't mean evil as in the person who hurt you was evil, or the devil came and did it. I mean evil as in you did not know that the world could be this bad, or could hurt this much. Losses hurt, but they usually don't hurt as much as the loss of innocence. The realization that terrible things happen and people do terrible things. Not even that there are terrible people, but that you don't even have to be a terrible person to hurt someone. Now that may not sound as helpful as the last piece of advice, but sometimes you go through the processing phase and you just can't make heads or tails of the situation. You can't understand why someone would do that or why that would happen. At that point, you need to come and visit this point. You need to accept the fact that the world can be a terrible, terrible place. That's no reason to be cynical, though, I don't think. If you accept it, if you can be prepared for it and have a much happier, healthier life. The last piece of advice I think I'll give is remember these things take time. But if you go through the processing phase and learn to accept these things, then you'll recover much more quickly and much more healthily. On that happy note, I think I'll call it a night. Best wishes, and I'll see you next time.